screen there. He's
Good evening. Washington County Quorum Court has been called to session. Good evening. J.P. Maxwell, you'll lead us in prayer and pledge.
Pray with me. Dear Lord, thank you so much for the opportunity to serve and to be a part of this great county, this great state, this great country. God, I pray tonight that you would help us to have your wisdom. I pray that you would help us to have your motive and your heart. And God, that we would do our best. And we just ask your blessing on that in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, J.P. Maxwell. Well, we got a good full house. Again, welcome. We got our September fall is now kicked in full-fledged. I would say it's football season. We just haven't got real started just yet. We'll get there. We got Saturday coming. So, adoption of the agenda.
Judge, I'd like to make an amendment to the agenda, if we could.
So we got an amendment to the agenda.
Yes.
What is that?
Item number 11. It's an ordinance changing the title of commercial personal property deputy to the business personal property appraiser 4 in the assessor's office. We had agreed to combine two positions into one ordinance to save the county money, but there was, let me find my notes, an error that was in the job description and the grading of it, so we've decided to pull it from today's agenda, and it will be placed on personnel's agenda next month.
Okay.
I'll move adoption of the agenda with that deletion.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion to adopt the agenda with the amendment of taking out item number 11. Has been moved and properly seconded by J.P. Ussery. And did you have a comment?
J.P. Harbison.
J.P. Harbison. Oh, I thought J.P. Harbison. All right. So we have a motion to approve the adopted agenda with the amendment and seconded by J.P. Harbison. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? All right. We have the agenda adopted. Citizen comments. At this time, we ask citizens who have some remarks that they would like to share with us here at the county, things that you're saying. Can you hear me? Preliminary motions. I'm sorry. J.P. Madison, any preliminary motions?
Thank you, Judge. Yes, I move that we suspend the rules and read the ordinances tonight, by title ordinance only. By title only. I was trying to see if the resolution should be included, but maybe not. You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. Resolution and ordinances by title only.
There's a motion to amend the
suspend
the rules to read by title only, both ordinances and resolutions. Second, J.P. Balls. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Okay. We have it. Citizen comments. Now we come back to you. The opportunity for you guys as citizens to come and share with us in the county things that you observed, picked up, comments, compliments, critiques. Please come forward, share your name.
Hello, I'm Hillary Drain.
Miss Hillary, go ahead, take a seat.
Oh, some of you may know who I am, some may not. If you don't, you will. I'm the current Secretary of Washington County Parent Adult Leaders Association for the 4-H program. I'm very proud to announce that we reached out to 1,250 people within a 3-hour period with our very first Kids Fest that was put on at the county fair this year. And not only did we reach out to so many new people, we've actually had new enrollment that came in from this. 10 definitely said it was due to only the fair. 30 more families have signed up into our program. So we're reaching out, we're starting to get everything done, and we wanted to let you know thank you for your support for all of our children that we have involved, and we will continue to spread their wings and our wings to reach out to all of our county.
Thank you, Ms. Drain.
Hillary?
Did you have a comment?
If you'll entertain a comment, thank you so much for the snacks that the 4-H provided for us. They were delicious.
That is courtesy of our personal club, Strickler 4-H. All the kids made homemade things for you guys to give
Thank you,
a break.
guys.
Something different. You have some actual winning recipes back there, so
For sure.
just letting you know.
Are we fishing right now?
Yes, we are fishing right now. Matter of fact, I have to
Go to the field.
go because I'm.
Enjoy yourself. Thanks again.
Yes,
thank you,
you.
guys. Any other public comments? Hi, good afternoon. Good evening.
My name's Terry Davis Beaupre. I'm a resident of Weddington Woods. My address is 16035 Beechnut Lane. I've been in contact with my JP, Alicia, and I wanted to come and express my appreciation for her efforts. We have, and I wanted to come here tonight to let all of the JPs know that the residents of our community are a little concerned about some recent developments on Harmon Road, and they have to do with the purchase of a new property, or a new purchase of a property that was subjected to a process about 3 years ago. Mr. Mark Rich owned some property out on Harmon Road, and he tried to put in a red dirt farm. And several of our community members showed up in opposition, and because of line of sight problems and other things, he was denied. We just recently found out that he sold that property to a company called Weddington Mine, LLC. That happened in July, and 2 or 3 days later, I noticed they were building a road, and it looked like it was coming straight for Highway 31. So I've been in conversation with people with Ozarks Electric, the University of Arkansas's Facility Management Director, Mike Johnson, to ask them about right-of-way clearing and the possibility that I guess the owner is Tom Terminello. Went up to speak with the lady, and the lady that owns the property. She and her husband, Dawn and Stella Elkins, own the property sandwiched between the property owned by Mr. Terminella and the University of Arkansas on that side of the road. She informed me that Mr. Terminella came to visit them a short while ago, and they were not receptive to selling their property to him because they don't want a dirt farm out there. They think it's dangerous. Most of us agree. And so she gave me permission to come down here tonight to just tell you that they're still in opposition to it. They didn't really appreciate the way that Mr. Terminella talked to them. He basically told them that the dirt farm would go in because he knew some people that had some pull. And so I just want all y'all to know that this is still an issue and we're not happy.
Excellent.
Okay?
Thank you very much. Any other public comments? Yes, sir.
My name is Jacob Pesic. I'm in JP District 8, and I'm here to comment on the 287G Steering Committee meeting. For the past 3 or 4 years, they've been held between June and August usually. This year, we're beyond that, and it still hasn't been scheduled, so it's going to be scheduled October at the latest. We've called, emailed the sheriff, as well as ICE, both Benton and Washington County sheriffs, and not received any responses to those calls or messages left. So I'm here to collect any information you may have on the next steering committee meeting, if one is to be held, and if one is not to be held, why it's not to be held. And to also ask you to reach out to your colleague, Sheriff Helder, to determine if there is, in fact, plans to hold the meeting this year.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comments? Any other public comments? Okay. All right, we'll go to the judge's report. I have a few. Oh, approval of the minutes. I'm just missing these. Approval of the minutes.
I have read them, and I move approval of the minutes.
It's been motioned by J.P. Madison, approval of the minutes, second by J.P. Harbison. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? All right. Item 7, judge's report. JP Usher, I want to thank you for last month's chairing the committee meeting of the Quorum Court. We had a loss in the family, and appreciate you for stepping in. Appreciate all the JPs. You guys really reached out, and thank you for the support of the loss of our family. At the same time, 2 days later, we were marrying our kid off, so it was a lot going on at that point in time. So, but I appreciate you guys pulling together and taking care of the business of the county. Disposal report is enclosed in your packet. We have declared the emergency next week. As you guys know or don't know, you will hear the Bike Blues and Barbecue kicks off. And so we've already got that emergency declared. We have law enforcement and Department of Emergency Management and the ambulance services across the counties and neighboring counties who will be all hands on deck just to make sure that we have a great, successful Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue. So if you're going to head to the hills, you need to get ready. And if you're going to enjoy, because it's going to be a good time. We have 72 miles completed on our chip and seal program. We started out, our plan was to hit about 60 miles, and we ended up with 72 miles. So our road crew has really gone after it and got after the weather. Obviously helps when you got some pretty decent weather. You can get out there and keep it going. So our county has seen those improvements, and many people's delight. When you can get that many rows and almost hit 20% over your goal, that's pretty powerful. And again, I'm really supportive and really appreciative of our road team. We also got the inspection done on Dye Creek Bridge by the state. So Dye Creek Bridge is now completed and finalized with the stamp approval from the state who's come in and given us, in fact, that came in today, so I'll be signing off on it and sending it back to the state, so they've come in and inspected. And so Dye Creek is all up and done. And if you haven't been out there, you need to ride across it. Again, another great project and product given by our road team. Health Summit. We had a health summit maybe 2 weeks ago for our veterans. Hundreds of veterans from neighboring counties and this county poured into the town center. Probably 75 vendors were there, and everything from checkups to back massages to pharmacy checks, etc., were all at the town center, and the veterans just poured out. Again, I was just amazed at how many veterans showed up there and where they all parked. The parking lot was full, the town center parking lot. So again, hats off to our veteran service crew who continues to pull off some great things. And there was a number of networks. There was a coalition of veteran networks who pulled that off, and just a tremendous event. Speaking of our Veterans Office, all three now are accredited and certified by the ADVA, which is our Arkansas Department of Veterans Affairs Office. So they're accredited by them, as well as the, what's the other group? Veterans Affairs, the American Legion. So that means that any veterans who's affiliated with any of those groups, American Legion, ABBA, they can be taken care of by our Veterans Office. Now that they got those two accreditations done, now they can go ahead and get the VFW accreditation. Josh is already accredited in all of those. It's the two other officers in the Veterans Office who's now been accredited. Again, the more accreditations they get, the better they can serve, the more benefits that they can help those impacted veterans connect their benefits. When veterans get connected to their benefits, their families are better, they're better, our economy gets stimulated, and so that's a tremendous hats off to those guys. Finally, I want to share that if you've been in the courtroom and the courthouse in the past day or two, a lot of banging, a lot of work, a lot of smells, but a lot of that's been going on over the weekend. Well, that's the completion of our courtroom. It is now completed upstairs on the 5th floor. Judge Joanne Taylor's her courtroom is done. After the meeting today, I'm thinking somewhere about 7:30, I want to invite the public, media, as well as obviously all the JPs to go upstairs to our 5th floor and see Judge Taylor's new courtroom. She's already scheduled her first her first court date, trial date, Tuesday. So 2 days from a week from next Tuesday, she'll be in there with a full court going on. So invite you guys all upstairs to see the new courtroom. It's beautiful. I think some of the judges downstairs are going to be a little jealous. But anyway, we invite you guys all upstairs after the Quorum Court meeting to go see that. Big hats off to Randy Peoples and Dwight Gonzalez. Those guys have had the crews in, again, trying to work around, obviously, the regular working that goes on in the court, and a lot of time during the weekend to make sure that got taken care of in a timely fashion. Judge Taylor has a major court hearing that's going to kick off in October, and so to come in a couple of weeks early and have that taken care of so she can go ahead and transition, that's going to be a great plus for her. That means obviously it kind of helps the sheriff and his team remove some of the security over in that building because we already got security over here, and so he can release to do some other work with his sheriffs and deputies and move them to other places, which again is a big help to them as we continue to work over there on the CSU. So after the meeting, I'd like to see all you guys come upstairs to see the new courtroom. With that, and lastly, I was in last week. We had all the 75 judges together down in Little Rock. I did a presentation down there, again, just kind of talking about some of the things we're doing in Washington County. But at the same time, a study has been done. It's been going on since January by the University of Central Arkansas. Their Arkansas Center for Research Economics has been doing a study on all 75 county judges and how they run their counties in transparency, accountability, and accessibility. They've run all kinds of tests. They've talked to the county clerk, gone on the website. I guess they talk to people in the counties, and they rank them. And their goal is that they do this with the counties every 2 years, that eventually they'll do that same type of deep dive with the legislative body. That report will be coming. They rank them now. I know we hit the top 5. But where did that come down after when they finally dot the T's and cross the I's? We're in good shape, and again, it was much to the support of the JPs that again we're seen in the top 5 of all our 75 counties, and so the judges really kind of took to that, and we'll be anxious to see how that comes out. There'll be reports and articles, et cetera. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you, and we'll push that out as soon as we get that to you guys. All right, having said that, item 8, J.P. Harbison.
Okay, we have a vacancy on the court because Joe Kicklack has taken a job in Little Rock. Brian, would you read the title of the resolution, please?
A resolution recognizing a vacancy in Quorum Court District 11 for 2018.
Okay, this just declares that there is a vacancy, and when we do this, then the governor can appoint someone to fill that vacancy for the next 3 months. So that's, we're not appointing someone tonight to that seat. So I move that we pass this resolution, 8.1.
There's a motion by J.P. Harbison to approve the resolution of the vacancy, a second by J.P. Dennis. Any discussion? Any discussion? Public comments? Any public comments? All right, Ms. Patty.
Sue Madison. Yes. Joel Maxwell.
Yes.
Joe Patterson.
Yes.
Butch Pond.
Yes.
Fred Roush.
Yes.
Bill Usry.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Alicia Devins.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Tom Lindstrom.
Yes.
Okay. Item 9, J.P. Ecke.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. Mr. Lester, if you'll read number 8. This is the third and final reading.
An ordinance repealing Article 3, Section 3 of Washington County Ordinance Number 1999-03, codified as Washington County Code 2-192C3.
Thank you. As you all know, this is our third month in discussing this. This is an ordinance passed in 1999, and I found this in our employee handbook under the retirement section, and it didn't make sense why it would be under the retirement section, and as all it says is that elected officials are barred from county employment for 1 year after they leave office. And that's all it said. There was no information or history, so we went back and tried to find as much as we can on this. Long story short, I put a feeler out, and the sponsor of this original ordinance, Rocky Parsons, called me while I was at the Washington County Fair. And I asked if he would please give up some context as to why, number one, why was this necessary, and to what did this pertain? it was very interesting talking to him because he said in 1999 it was like the wild, wild west. Everything started booming and growing, and construction was going out of sight. So he started talking to me about the contracts that were just being passed out left and right to anybody. And so therefore the court felt that they had to rein that in and rein in quite a few of the nepotism laws that were going on, or nepotism that was going on in the county. And then I asked him, could he please explain what the situation was that bars all employee or elected officials from being hired by the county for 1 year. And he said, oh, that has to do with retirement. I said, okay, but elected officials don't retire, they just don't run for office. He says, well, no, what happened was that there was an assessor who retired but hired himself as an employee. I don't know how that was possible, but it was through different language. And they found that and said you cannot draw APER's retirement and have the county contribute service, hours of service to APERS at the same time. And that's what was going on. Therefore, they passed this ordinance saying you can't do that and you have to not work for the county for 1 year. Well, since then, APERS says if you retire from the county, whether you're an elected official or not, and you're part of the Arkansas Public Employment Retirement Service or system, you have to cease from employment for 6 months. And the way it currently states in our handbook, it says up to 1 year. That is what they called double dipping, and that's what he was doing. So I asked him, does this have anything to do with the hiring processes of the Quorum Court in regards to elected officials? He says, absolutely not. That had nothing to do with hiring. Elected officials can hire whomever they want as long as they go through the process. And if the Quorum Court wants to challenge that, the elected officials will take you all the way to the Supreme Court and win, because you cannot tell them who they can or they cannot hire. I said, what was the 1 year? And that has to do with APERS. So this whole resolution, because there are processes in place that protect and govern this double dipping from happening, we saw it as an ordinance that needed to be repealed, for it's no longer necessary. And so I'd like to make a motion that we repeal this ordinance and take it off the handbook and off of our ordinances.
Second.
We got a motion by J.P. Ecke, a second by J.P. Pine. Is there any discussion? J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm speaking against this ordinance. I think it served the county well. It says no elected official should be given employment with the county for a period of 1 year except by a majority vote of the Quorum Court, which does provide an opportunity in unusual circumstances for an official to be hired. What bothers me is that it leaves open an opportunity for some backroom deal making. If an elected official has decided to retire but really loves working in whatever office they'd been in and would like to continue that, there is an opportunity to go to the person seeking that office and cut some deals. You know, like, I'll endorse you if you'll just let me come back and have a corner office or a little spot in your administration. And we pride ourselves on going through some regular hiring practices rather than cutting backroom deals. And I don't see that anything's been hurt by having this. APERS has indeed changed their waiting period for anybody retiring. But I thought it was an ordinance that served a good purpose, just to keep everything out in the open and let people have good opportunities for jobs. Thank you.
J.P. Devins.
I appreciate your comments and thank you for the background and following up. I have one question, and it has to do with if APER still has the 6-month waiting period, isn't that the same as it wouldn't? Is our handbook extending that waiting period unnecessarily? Like if we have 1 full year of a waiting period, is 6 months not enough time for that to take care of what your concerns are? And the question I'm asking that for is if a person is qualified, and I think in the Sheriff's Office and in the Road Department we've had qualified people, waiting a whole year is going, to me that's a lot of time when you could have a valuable employee that has a lot of experience that could offer good experience. That'd be a longer time, just a longer waiting period. Is the APER's 6 months not enough? Thank you. And I guess that question might be for her or for whoever. So.
I think you have to ask the judge.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Judge, sorry.
So this ordinance itself doesn't apply to all employees. It applies to elected officials only. Yes, APERS has a rule and a policy that says you have to sit out at least 6 months drawing retirement before you can come back and take a part-time job. This therein doesn't have anything to do with that. It only has to do with elected officials.
My apologies. Thank you.
Okay. Let me get J.P. Maxwell and then J.P. Dennis. Then we'll come back to you, J.P. Madison. J.P. Maxwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I'll look at this from kind of a what are we getting and what are we potentially losing in a bargaining kind of sense. But when I look at this, and to J.P. Devon's question, I think we have a mechanism in place now that if somebody wanted to go to work for the county on the first day of their day after not being an elected official, it's a simple process, and we exercised that process just less than a month ago with potential conflict of interest on a construction contractor, brought it out in the transparent light. We all discussed it, made a decision on it as a body, and we're going to go with that contractor as a potential bidder for some things we have in the future. So if I'm reading our current handbook right, if there is some great talent that was an elected official the day after they retire, relatively speaking, the first quorum court meeting after that, we can all discuss it. And if it's good talent, and it's all transparent, it's out in front, then you don't even have to wait 6 months. So to your point, yes, it'd be unfair, I think, to make somebody wait an additional 6 months just because, but we have a mechanism where as soon as the first quorum court meeting happens, anybody could be reinstalled in any position. It would just be done in the light of day, if you will, so that there is no nepotism or appearance of nepotism. And I think both of those are important to consider. The other part that I have a concern, so I guess that's what we would, we already have that ability without repealing this ordinance. So I don't see us getting anything on our part in the bargain. And then my concern is that we do give up the ability to, if there is, I would say 99 times out of 100, and I've kind of asked questions, I don't think there have been any issues in the past however long that anybody can remember that I've talked to where this will be a problem. But if there is a potential nepotism, as we referred to 3 times, someone on the quorum court votes lots of money into a budget, retires, and then slips around and takes a job there and is a beneficiary of that, or votes something in and then becomes hired by that department or whatever. There's lots of ways that nepotism could occur. Our current mechanism, leaving this on the books, means that if someone does that, then it'll all be discussed in public. And if there is nepotism or the appearance of it, then we can either put that rumor to bed or we can not go down that pathway if it makes us uncomfortable. That's our job. So I don't see that we're gaining anything, and I think we lose our ability to have transparent activity as a county government by taking this away, because then it is possible for someone to be hired with no public discussion moved into place. So I don't see this gaining us anything, and I think I see it losing us an opportunity to be transparent. So I will be opposed to this. Thank you.
J.P. Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, or your honorable judge. I guess what comes to my mind, and I've got wisdom of the gray-haired man. Mine is to abstain from the appearance of all evil. And so I'll quote that, abstain from the appearance of all evil. And for the public, they seem to think that this is an issue of where we could allow evil to come about because it, we're changing the rule that we've got. It looks like we're changing it for someone. I don't think we are, but at the same time, so I like the idea of what J.P. Maxwell had said. Otherwise, we vote on it. We'll just vote on it. We, or whoever the quorum court is, to vote on it, and then that takes the elected official the heat off of them. It takes the heat off of the department manager who's doing the hiring, puts the heat on us. And so if we don't like it, we would say no at that time. If we do like it, then we say yes, and then we stand behind our vote either way. So I'd just rather not change it, just leave it the way it is and work within those boundaries. Thank you.
Who's it, J.P. Pine? And then J.P. Madison. Are you good? J.P. Pine?
Yes, I might have a question for the county attorney, but first I like the comments being made, and I do appreciate the appearance of transparency by this coming before the court. But I still have a question whether we, the court, have any business whatsoever given the county judge or the county
sheriff,
the circuit clerk, or any of the other elected officials any direction at all as to who they could hire and fire. They've been elected by the people of Washington County to do the best job they can in the business of the county to the pleasure of the majority of the voters that put them in office. I feel kind of, I appreciate the idea of elected officials maybe wanting to come before us and say, well, I really want to hire this person. Could you be kind enough to let them come in my office? But I'm just kind of wondering, I'm going to ask the county attorney, because of enabling a constitutional amendment that gives us the,
that's right,
we might say political power, maybe power is not the correct word. Do we have that constitutional right to determine who the county judge or any other elected official hires or fires?
You do not. I would say that this provision of this statute is illegal, and trying to act on this and doing this would be an illegal act by this court, and here's why. State law and the Constitution both state that in no specific terms that the quorum court shall have no right in the hiring or firing of any county employee. When you do this and you take this on, when somebody comes in and says, I have this former elected official and you all have to vote, I want you to hire them. If you vote yes, then I guess arguably you're just saying, sure, go ahead, we don't have a problem. But if you vote no, you're making a hiring decision which is in direct violation of the law and the Constitution. In addition, I have two, and I brought this up before, I have two Attorney General opinions from two different Attorney Generals on Washington County's policy, this specific policy right here, that two Attorney Generals have both said that is illegal and you cannot do that. So my advice to you is, I understand where you're coming from and understand the desire and the need, but what you have, the mechanism you have right here, I would tell you is illegal. And so if it were to come up and you were to be challenged, you would lose.
Well, I just have one more comment, and I'll let you have it back. I've lost count 7 or 8 times. I have solemnly sworn, not solemnly anything else, but I solemnly swore to uphold not only the Constitution of the United States of America, but the Constitution of the state of Arkansas. So I will be voting yes on this in honor of what the legislature and everybody else is involved in this amendment that enables us to be here and conduct the business that we do, I'll vote yes on this ordinance to repeal. Thank you.
J.P. Bowman.
Call for question.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed Ecke and then Bowman. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Judge. Just to respond to the comments that were made. Number one, we are the fiduciary body. We're the one who passed the budgets. We're the one who proves somebody's salary or not. And it is done by 15 of us, and there's not a single JP that can determine what a salary for a particular line item employment is going to be. That is it's up to it's our decision. So that argument saying that you can make a backroom deal and if you pay me this much, then we can go ahead and do that, in my opinion, doesn't hold water, because we're the fiduciary body, and that is transparency, and they have to bring it before us for our approval. Number two, I think it's being taken out of context. Once again, that's why I had Rocky Parsons, when he called me, put this in context, saying that you're not being transparent and hiring people and having these mechanisms and coming to the quorum court asking for our blessing or approval that you're going to hire this person is taking out of context what that ordinance meant. What that ordinance deals with only is double dipping APERS. That's it. It has nothing to do with whether or not you can hire or not, because in our Justice of the Peace manual set out by the AAC on page 25, it specifically states these are powers denied the quorum court. You cannot determine whether an elected official can or cannot hire a particular person if they go through the processes that we have already in place. Number one is JSAP. So that in itself grades and tells us how much that particular position can make. Now, an elected official can come to us and say, I want it to be graded a 14 instead of a 10 based on the experience of this particular employee. Therefore, I'm requesting that the increase in salary be made. And guess who has to approve that? We do. It has to come through the personnel committee. After committee, then it has to go through the full quorum court. In my opinion, that's transparency. That is the proper way and the process in which we run government. The argument is taken the original ordinance out of context. And if we were sued by an elected official, we would lose, because these are powers that have been denied the quorum court when it comes to employment. We do not determine whether or not somebody can or cannot be employed. We can say you don't have any money to employ the person, but that is up to the 15 of us to decide. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, J.P. Ecke. Go ahead, J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. I still am very opposed to this ordinance. I think the more sunshine that can shine on the activities in this courthouse, the better off we all are. The budgets are set at the end of the year for the next year, so the salary deals may have already been made before it comes to light that the person is being hired. Now, admittedly, they would have to come back to us if they wanted to increase that salary during the new year. I still think that this is an opportunity for some backroom deals, and probably the best value of the existing ordinance is that it requires the sunshine of coming to the court and is preventive. I mean, an elected official may think twice before they do some of these deals because of this ordinance. And I think it has served the county well, because we've not had a lot of problems. And it may be because We believe in sunshine and we believe in openness. Thank you.
J.B. Maxwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It gets a little muddy when it comes to employment with the county because, and I'm glad we're having this discussion. This is, I think, our job description. So I think it's good to push and pull and do this and try to get to the bottom of it because I learn stuff every time I sit in here and listen. But we decide how many heavy equipment operators the road crew gets. Just by setting salaries and deciding if we're going to change a position. People come here all the time. We've got a couple on the agenda tonight. We're going to change the name of something or the grade of something or the position. And we can sometimes add one, take one away, whatever. So we do have a very prominent role in personnel. Matter of fact, we have a whole committee called personnel because we are involved. Not in the, we don't do interviews. We don't decide who gets hired. We don't do that kind of stuff. But there is an influence of what we do. We even take it another step where before the county hires someone that has a close family member that's involved in county government, we have a discussion about that because we have rules that's not allowed without coming here. So we have a red dirt pit not long ago that we had to have a meeting or two about to actually decide should we do business with this person because they had a very direct blood relationship to someone at the county and actually specifically on the road department. So I think we were able to walk through that. And while we don't make exact hiring decisions about who, we do have a lot of prominence in the personnel side of things. And I don't think this really falls any of this. It really doesn't fall out of our bailiwick. I agree with J.P. Madison. She makes a great point that I think if you're an elected official and you decide to hire someone, you bring them before the quorum court. Quorum court votes no, and then you decide to go ahead with it and sue us and win. You still have to make that case, and now it's public. Everybody knows, and if there is a hint of demise to it or whatever, then the entire public has had a chance to witness that in a meeting, and you've had to make your case, and it's not something that can be done with absolutely no sunshine on it. So I do agree that I think having to make that case and to push that case does provide some transparency that I think the citizens would agree. And last, I just have a question. I am very confused as to why this randomly come up. So there's probably no specific reason for that, but it does, if someone out there is wondering what we're doing, it does look like that maybe there's something in the future that we want to do. I don't think that's the case, but I certainly don't want to give off that appearance. So again, I'm not for this just because I feel like we don't get anything in return for making this decision and we lose. I know what the ordinance was maybe originally meant for, but I think it's been a great cover to cover a lot of potential nepotism and keep us where we're very transparent. So I want to continue with the transparency. Thank you, Judge.
All right, J.P. Dennis and then J.P. Harbison.
I just wanted to say I thank Brian Lester, our attorney, for explaining that. And, just like I said, the appearance of all evil, well, I don't want to appear that I'm going against Arkansas Constitution, so mine will be a yes, not a no.
J.P. Harbison.
We're talking about an elected official hiring another elected official that's no longer an elected official. If a person does that, we have the recourse, the public has the recourse. If they think that they've done something wrong, they can vote them out of office. Elected official has the right to hire someone he wants, and we know that. That's the Arkansas Constitution. I'll be voting yes. Thank you.
J.P. Bowman, you called for the question. I got a motion.
Second.
And who was the second? J.P. Balls. All in favor? Those opposed? All right, public comments? Any public comments? Okay. All right, we're going to item number... Oh, Ms. Patty, I'm sorry. Ms. Patty.
Sue Madison. No. Joel Maxwell.
No.
Joe Patterson.
No.
Butch Pond.
Yes.
Fred Roush.
Yes.
Bill Usry.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
No.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Alicia Devins.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
No.
What's the count?
8 to
Okay, so it passes. Item 11 has been removed. Item 12, that'll be J.P. Ussery. Did we do 10? Oh, J.P. Ecke, I'm sorry, number 10. J.P. Ecke.
This is an ordinance changing the title of the... Sorry. This is an ordinance that came before personnel, and we approved of it to be a title change to commercial personal property. If you would, Mr. Lester, please.
An ordinance changing the title of commercial/personal property manager to business/personal property manager in the assessor's office for 2019.
I make a motion to pass.
Second.
There was a motion by J.P. Ecke, a second by J.P. Dennis. Any discussion? Any discussion? Public comments? Any public comments? All right, Ms. Patty.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
Joel Maxwell.
Yes.
Joe Patterson.
Yes.
Butch Pond.
Yes.
Fred Rouse.
Yes.
Bill Ussery.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Alicia Devins.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Tom Lindstrom.
Yes.
All right, that motion approved, passes. Item 12. Item 12, J.P. Ussery.
Thank you. Item 12 is we are just what we're doing is we're taking a permanent position and turning it into a part-time position. And this will be to help Mr. Lester. He feels like he doesn't need a full-time person anymore. A part-time person is. So we're just changing that. We're just cleaning that up. And so that's what this ordinance is about. Will you read this, please, Brian?
An ordinance changing the title of paralegal/permit coordinator to part-time paralegal/permit coordinator in the county attorney budget for 2018.
Okay, and I'll make a motion that this be passed as read.
Second.
There's a motion by J.P. Ussery, a second by J.P. Lundstrom. Any discussion? Any discussion? J.P.
This is saving the county money. You're going from a full-time to a part-time paralegal. And thank you, Mr. Lester, for being efficient and running your office that way. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Public comments? Any public comments? All right, Ms. Patty.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
Joel Maxwell.
Yes.
Joe Patterson.
Yes.
Butch Pond.
Yes.
Fred Rouse.
Yes.
Bill Ussery.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Alicia Devins.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Tom Lindstrom.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item 13, J.P. Ussery.
Okay. Item 13 is that we're changing the title of heavy equipment operator to assistant parts manager, and this is so they'll be more efficient in the road department. And Brian, would you read this, please?
An ordinance changing the title of heavy equipment operator to assistant parts manager in the road department for 2018.
I move that this be passed as read.
J.P. Ussery made a motion, as seconded by J.P. Bowman. Any discussion? Any discussion? Public comments? Any public comments? All right, Ms. Patty.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
Joel Maxwell.
Yes.
Joe Patterson. Butch Pond.
Yes.
Fred Rouse.
Yes.
Bill Ussery.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Alicia Devins.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Tom Lindstrom.
Yes.
All right, that passes. Item 14, item 14, J.P. Ussery.
Item 14 is just recognizing revenues for the grant fund for the JDC. Will you read this, please, Brian?
Yes. An ordinance recognizing additional revenues of $31,167 in the JDC Grant Fund and appropriating $31,167 from the JDC Grant Fund to the Juvenile Detention Center grant in a 2018-2019 budget for 2018.
I move that this be passed as read.
We have a motion to receive the additional revenues, a second by J.P. Ecke. Any discussion? Any discussion? Public comments? Public comments? Ms. Patty.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
Joel Maxwell.
Yes.
Joe Patterson.
Yes.
Butch Pond.
Yes.
Fred Rouse.
Yes.
Bill Ussery.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Alicia Devins.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Tom Lindstrom.
Yes.
All right, and that passes. Item 15, J.P. Ussery.
Item 15 is the legal fees that we've had to pay for the wedding chapel that we have challenged. And I'd like to amend this to say that instead of it coming out of the county attorney's budget, I'd like for it to come out of the general fund.
Second.
So, Brian, would you read this, please? Well, wait, I guess we have to vote on it.
Yes. So we got a motion to amend the ordinance by J.P. Usry, a second by J.P. Harbison. Go ahead.
We'd like to amend that to come out of the Quorum court budget. You said general fund.
Well, his amendment was are you specific saying the general revenue?
No,
or the
Quorum court is fine.
Okay.
The Quorum court will work,
So
yes.
restate your motion.
So the motion is to, where it says that it will set amount of professional services, that it will come out of the Quorum Court's budget. Professional services, yes.
Okay, so we got a motion and got a second. All right, discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. I'd like to know if this amendment to this ordinance takes an extraordinary vote.
It's going to be 3.
No, this is an appropriation ordinance, so it will take because it's an appropriation ordinance, the ordinance itself to only have to go one time will take a supermajority.
The amendment is just a simple.
No, the amendment is just a simple majority.
J.P. Maxwell.
Thank you. Just a process question. Do we need to actually move the money from the general account to the Quorum court and then move it over to that line item?
Yeah, please. We're right now
It'll go from the general account to the Quorum court's budget, and then a check will be written, and it'll draw directly out of the Quorum court budget for professional services.
They get you, J.P. Maxwell? I had another hand. J.P. Boss? No, you're good? All right, so we have a motion to amend, and so the appropriation will come out of the general to Quorum court, and then for Quorum court to be paid. Second by J.P. Harbison. Any other discussion? J.P. Bowman and then J.P. Ecke.
Thank you, Judge. You know, I think it's really important to remember that the Quorum Court is the one that initiated this suit, even against the advice of some of our advisors, and because we felt like that the judge was overstepping their bounds by overturning what we had done. So I think it's a totally appropriate changes to this motions or this ordinance. So I'm going to be supporting it. Thank you.
J.P. Dennis. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'll vote for it, but I wanted to say that I was really opposed to this. I'm still really against it, but yet we talked about how the Quorum Court sticks together once we pass something. But I wanted it registered. I was still against this. This is a waste of money. So, but I'll vote with it. Thank you.
J.P. Ecke.
Thank you, Judge. In the Quorum Court's budget line item for professional services, I do believe we have quite a bit of money in there. I don't know what our balance is, but I would like to make sure that whatever we have in there, if it's even $10,000, then that means that not that much has to come out of county general to that. So is it subsidized, or is it the full amount?
It'll be the full amount to make sure that you have enough. You do have some in that, but you don't have near enough. I don't know what the figure is.
I don't either.
At the end of the year, if anything that's not used will go back into the general fund. So really,
it's okay.
It's a wash.
All right. Thank you. Just thank you.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the amendment? Oh, I'm sorry, J.P. Madsen.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. My memory is that when this came up in committee, it was not a matter of whose budget it came out of. The money is going to be put there to cover the expense. The feeling simply was that for audit purposes, it is more appropriate for a legal expense to be in the county attorney's budget. That's all. It wasn't a matter of taking money from one budget or another budget. The money's not the issue. It's just the appropriateness for audit purposes. And I think it ought to stay as written.
J.P. Bond.
I believe it's more appropriate for it to come out of our budget, and I don't think any of you have forgotten that I was opposed to this frivolous spending of this money to start with. We were advised not to do such a thing, but just to me seems kind of ridiculous to have this money come out of the county attorney's budget when I kind of think he advised us maybe not to do it at all. I think it's easier for the sake of transparency for the public to see that it came out of our budget, whereas the majority of the people on this court overrode the advice of the Association of Counties, the county attorney, and various other folks to go into this situation anyway. So I'll be voting for this ordinance amended to be taken out of our budget so the public understands it didn't have anything to do with the county attorney or Association of Counties or any other such individuals who advised us not to do such a thing. Thank you.
J.P. Lundstrom.
I'm sitting here trying to figure out why we're spending so much time discussing this to start with, when all the money ultimately comes out of the general fund. That's where it all comes from, folks. And if we don't have enough money in that line item now, we're going to have to probably do another ordinance to move money into that line item so we can pay this bill. Costs us another $100. So why don't we just put it in the general fund and pay the darn thing and be done with it? So that would be my motion. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, we got a motion on the floor. We have a second. All in favor of the motion? Those opposed?
No.
All right, Miss Patty, let's do a roll. Go ahead, Miss Patty. State the motion again.
The motion on the floor is a motion to amend the ordinance and to have the money be appropriated into the Quorum Court's personal services line item for 2018.
All right, Ms. Patty.
Sue Madison. No. Joel Maxwell. Joe Patterson. No. Butch Pond.
Yes.
Fred Rouse.
No.
Bill Usry.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Alicia Devins.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Tom Lindstrom.
No.
What's that count?
8 to 5.
So it passed. All right, it passes. All right, any other discussions? Any discussion? Public comments?
No, you need to read it.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
No, I need to read the ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So now we're going to vote on the ordinance. Is that
He's going to read it one more time.
Okay, so if you'll read it for us
As amended.
as amended.
An ordinance reducing $15,390.06 from unappropriated county reserves and appropriating said amount to the other professional services line item in the Quorum Court's budget for 2018.
All right.
So I move that this be passed as read.
There's a motion by J.P. Usry, a second by J.P. Ecke. Discussion? Discussion? Public comments? Public comments. All right, Ms. Patty.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
Joel Maxwell.
Yes.
Joe Patterson.
Yes.
Butch Pond.
Yes.
Fred Rouse.
Yes.
Bill Usry.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Alicia Devins.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
No.
All right, it passes. All right, committee reports. Let's go this way. J.P. Usry, you want to kick off with your financial chair report?
Yes, sir. The Finance Committee met and we talked about the things that we passed tonight. We had some very healthy discussion on those things. And then we just talked very briefly about the budget coming up. We're going to be having one or two meetings, extra meetings next month. I'm very encouraged. I did ask each department to cut 3% if they possibly could. So far, we're on track for that. My goal, of course, is to have enough money cut from the budget to take care of the employee raises. And so we're in that process, and so that's pretty well it. Thank you.
Thank you, J.P. Usry. You've been doing some good stuff out there. I appreciate that. J.P. Maxwell on law enforcement.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had two major topics of discussion at our last meeting. One is, as we're all painfully aware, the jail is overcrowded. I think at the last count, maybe a different number today. We have 50 plus sleeping on the floor. Our total population is in the almost to the 700 mark. So we have a problem out there that we have to deal with. So we listened to the architect that's starting the process on kind of understanding what our needs are, what they're going to be now, what they're going to be in 10 years from now, and try to anticipate that, also what that would look like, what's the most efficient way to do it, and then, of course, how we're going to pay for it. That's the fun question. We all get to decide how we're going to answer that. So we didn't solve any of those problems, but we're getting better at calling them out and understanding what the potential solutions are. So we're working on that. The second part that we discussed is actually a solution for some of that, and that is the build of the crisis stabilization unit. Those of you that don't know, that's a medical facility that the county will not run, but we will house. So if there's someone who doesn't meet criminal criteria but does have some mental illness, instead of using up our resources of circuit judges, circuit clerks, prosecuting attorneys, defending public defenders, sheriff's office, jail, all that stuff, if they don't rise to that level, then to get them treatment, try to get them down a different path instead of sending them through our jail and legal system multiple times, and try to do the right thing by our constituents, and also to be efficient with our resources, which we don't have enough of. So we've made a lot of progress in that. We have a building. We have some progress in it's the bottom floor of the annex. As you heard the judge mention earlier, we have Judge Joanna Taylor now will be on the 5th floor. That alleviates some pressure over there. It gives us some space. We have a contracted provider, which is Ozark Guidance. They gave us an update as well when they were here. And then we're kind of moving through how we're going to fund this. We also talked about charging the municipalities that use this. It'll be to their best interest, certainly financially, to charge them a facility fee for each day. Maximum stay there is 3 days, so it's not going to be something that's going to break them. Our friends in Benton County, any municipality that sends someone to the county jail pays $55 a day. That'd save a lot of our problems if we had that option here. We don't at the current spot, but it's cheaper for them to send someone that meets criteria to a much less expensive, better long-term solution for them and keep them out of an expensive jail. Also helps with crowding, et cetera. So we're working on this, and we made a lot. Like I said, we've made a lot of progress. Hopefully, we'll be able to keep moving forward at a good pace and get this done so that we can start taking advantage of what it offers. So I think that covered most of it, Judge.
Website.
You can speak to that. You know more about that than I do. So.
On the crisis stabilization unit, go to the county website. You can see some updates as we continue to progress on the CSU. Go to the county website. Personnel Committee.
Thank you, Judge. The Personnel Committee did have a meeting this month, and we discussed the items that were on tonight's agenda, and we will be discussing the other one on 11 next month. Thank you.
All right. J.P. Dennis.
County Services met, and we got a report from Jennifer Price about our secure voting in Washington County, and she was very reassuring on how good of a system we have, how they've been recognized statewide and national-wise as far as Washington County's ability to keep it secure, and all the things that they've done. And also a big thank you for the money that was spent to help pay for the voting machines and how beneficial they have been. Russell Hill spoke and gave us an update on the assessor's department. Talked about his awards that his department has had, and talked about some of the changes that they have coming in the future for overlaying a person's or a business's property, and it recognizes the change automatically. And so need to be sure and report our changes in our property. Kyle Sylvester came, and he discussed e-filing was one of his big accomplishments, making their department very efficient and having less traffic from lawyers coming to file all their briefs, and doing it electronically. Electronic filing is what I'm talking about on that, and how that it helps substantially. Also, Becky Llewellyn came, and she discussed voters registration, as well as some other things that were going on in her department. So it was a good meeting, good informative meeting. It was nice to hear from the different department managers or the different elected officials. Thank you.
Thank you, J.P. Dennis. And J.P. Bowman.
Thank you, Judge. You know, we didn't have a meeting of the Public Works Group, our committee, this past month, but I want to acknowledge the fact that our buildings and grounds and road department are doing a phenomenal job. You know, you heard the report earlier about how many miles chip and seal has been done. That's just one of the great accomplishments they've done, plus greatly improving some of the road situations out here. And relative to the new courtroom, it was mentioned at our last meeting about the fund for fines and jail, and I asked our attorney to send me that ordinance so I could go ahead and review exactly what it says. And if you go to Article 11 in that statement, it says any funds in the court cost and fine fund after making monthly deposits into the bond fund may be withdrawn from the court cost and fines fund and used at the option of the county for administration of justice purposes. I believe that clearly identifies the fact that this courtroom would be eligible for use of some of those funds. In addition, I understand that there's 2 funds set aside to take care of those bonds. The primary fund has 1.5 years of reserves in it. The secondary fund has $800,000 in it. To think that we might run short of money to pay that would be like suggesting that we're not going to have any more funds coming from those sources for 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years. And I think that's a little bit ridiculous. There's money there available, and I think we need to utilize that money as needed. So I'm looking forward to seeing the courtroom, and I think that the suggestion that be used has been a good suggestion, and we need to move forward with it. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, J.P. Bowman. Any other business? J.P. Dennis.
Thank you, Judge. I want to go to a ball game very badly, but I think this needs to be brought up, so I'm going to bring it up. Does the planning, or does our planning belong under my committee, or does it belong under someone else's committee on the planning, or does it answer straight to you and
the planning team or the planning
department?
Planning department.
Planning department. That would be my team. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. Well, what I want to talk about right now, or what I'm what I'm stirred up about, is Weddington Woods and Weddington Mines. That has been a thorn in our side for a long time. I've seen and been shown where that they've broken rules out there right and left, and we don't seem to ever do anything about it. And I don't care who's got friends. We have the law, and we should be able to stand up against anybody that says that. If they're doing wrong, they're doing wrong, and it needs to stop until it's approved. And so I'd like more investigation, like to know more about what's going on. I tell you flat out that it doesn't sound good to me whatsoever, and based on what my history is of seeing what's gone on out there, I want to say that I'm upset, but I'm not upset. I would figure that it would go on, and we need to stop it before it goes any farther. Sure. And please let me know what I can do to help, and I'll be glad to do it, because this doesn't sound right.
I will follow back up with you. I'm scheduling a meeting with those guys, so as soon as I get that booked, I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Other business, J.P. Devins.
I'd just like to say that the Weddington Fire Department in my district is having their country breakfast on September 29th. And if you all like biscuits, gravy, and bacon, you're welcome to come out and support your local fire department.
Not gravy. J.P. Harbison. Oh, I thought you had. Okay. Other business. Let's go upstairs and see it. Take one more motion. It's been moved and second. Meeting adjourned. Let's go upstairs and see the court.